To get a high score on the Duolingo test speaking questions, you need to demonstrate a high level of English vocabulary. This is made very clear on the scoring criteria right here, where it says that it evaluates your lexical sophistication and lexical diversity. Basically, the level and variety of vocabulary you use on the speaking questions. And one way to show your high level of vocabulary is to use idioms. Native speakers use idioms all the time without even realizing it. If you can incorporate some everyday idioms into your speaking answers, then it will show a high level of vocabulary. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 7 idioms you can use for almost any of the speaking questions you get on the Duolingo test. You can use these for almost any question because these idioms are all related to talking about your experiences. And most of the speaking questions on the Duolingo test, or even the IELTS test, often ask you about your experiences on a certain topic. Take a look at these sample Duolingo test speaking questions. As you can see, they are related to your experiences. It's likely you'll be able to use these idioms in your speaking answers. I will show you the idiom and a high-level answer as well, so you can see how it's used in context. Let's jump right into idiom number 1, and it is to hit the ground running, which means to immediately work hard and successfully at a new activity. Activity could mean anything, like a new job, a new course, a new sport, anything like that. So when you're talking about something new that you have started, then you can use the idiom to hit the ground running to show that you're starting it really well, successfully, or enthusiastically. Now let's take a look at a real Duolingo English test speaking question, and I'll answer it using this idiom.
Talk about a time when you needed to adapt to a different lifestyle or cultural setting. How did you manage to adapt to this new way of living?
When I was in secondary school, I was lucky enough to have the chance to go to France for a month to study French. And I remember being really nervous on the flight over there because it was my first time going abroad without my parents. But even though I was nervous, I was determined to hit the ground running. So as soon as I arrived, I enrolled into extra French classes, and I even joined a local French football team because I thought it was really important for me to immerse myself in the culture and make local French friends. Idiom number 2 is to learn the ropes, which means to learn how to do a particular job or activity. You use this when you're a beginner at a new job or a new hobby and you're just learning the basics. To learn the basics in an idiom is to learn the ropes. This idiom probably comes from sailing, when sailors had to learn how to use the ropes on a sailboat, which is of course the basics to sailing. So just one more time, when you're learning the basics of a new job or a new hobby or a new activity, you could say, I'm learning the ropes. Now let's see how you can use it in a Duolingo test speaking answer.
Talk about a time when you faced a challenge at work or while studying.
When I was at university, I got my first part-time job. It was at a cafe on campus. And it was really hard for me at first because actually I had never worked at a cafe and I didn't even drink coffee. So all of the different coffee drinks, like an Americano or a cappuccino, all of these were completely new to me. And I remember it being really hard at first. But within a few weeks, I had learned the ropes and I think I got pretty good at making coffees in the end. Okay, moving on to idiom number 3, which is to get the hang of something. And this simply means to learn how to do something well. This idiom is really common for talking about learning something or something you've already learned. Rather than saying, I can do it well, you can just simply say, I've got the hang of it. Or if you are currently learning that activity, you can say, I'm getting the hang of it. Native speakers use this all the time, so it's definitely one you should be using in your everyday English. Let's check it out in a Duolingo test speaking answer.
Talk about a new skill you decided to learn as an adult. Describe any obstacles you encountered.
One of the most challenging things I've ever had to learn in my life was the Korean language. I remember when I first started learning it, I was just completely shocked by how different it was than the other languages I knew. I had to learn a new alphabet from scratch. It's called Hangul. And a lot of the sounds in Korean were really difficult for me to make. But I had to learn it because my wife's Korean. So I went out and got a good teacher, and before long I started to get the hang of it. I was able to read Hangul and have basic conversations with Korean people, which was my goal. Okay, let's now talk about idiom number 3, which is to go the extra mile. And this means to make more effort than is expected of you. I think this is a very easy idiom to understand. You can imagine yourself literally walking an extra mile and that taking more effort. So as an idiom, you can use this phrase, to go the extra mile, to talk about anything you do which requires more effort. It can be at work, so you went the extra mile to deliver a great presentation. Or you can use this in more casual context. I'll show you a Duolingo test speaking question about giving gifts, and I'll answer it using this idiom.
Talk about a special gift you have given to someone recently.
I normally just buy really simple gifts for my family members and friends, something like a box of chocolates. But for my brother's most recent birthday, I went the extra mile and I got him tickets to see his favorite football team, Tottenham Hotspur, play live in London. The next idiom we're going to look at is back to square one, which means to start something again from the start because your previous attempt didn't work out. The emphasis here is on going back to the start. So imagine you're doing something like working on a project, but you realize you've made a mistake and you have to begin all over again. In this situation, you can say, I need to go back to square one. It's most likely you'll use this idiom in a formal context, so talking about work or school. But not always, but most likely it will be in those types of formal contexts. Okay, now let's take a look at another DET speaking question, and I'll give my answer using this idiom.
Talk about an educational course or training you have undertaken.
The most memorable course I've ever taken was a short crash course on computer programming. And I remember being really excited about this course because the goal of it was to make your own video game, which sounded pretty cool to me. However, it was a lot harder than I anticipated. And I remember about 2 weeks into the course, my game just not working at all. So the teacher did a quick review and he found lots and lots of bugs, which meant that I had to go back to square one and start again. 5 idioms done, now we have 2 left. Let's move on to the next one, which is to turn over a new leaf. And this means to make a fresh start or to start to behave in a better way. This is mostly used when talking about a life situation or some type of attitude change where you want to start again and start something more positively. For example, maybe you want to improve your health, so you want to turn over a new leaf and start eating healthily and exercising. Or you're not studying hard enough in school, so you're going to turn over a new leaf and start to work hard in school. A lot of speaking questions on the Duolingo test or IELTS test will ask you about how you have changed in a particular way. In that kind of situation, you can use this idiom, just like in this example here.
Describe a significant change you have made in your personal or professional life. How did you identify the need for this change, and what steps did you take to implement it?
To be honest, until recently, I used to waste a lot of time consuming pointless content on social media, and I noticed this becoming a little bit of a problem. So I decided to turn over a new leaf and limit the amount of time I spent on these social media platforms. I downloaded an app which will send me a notification if I spend more than 10 minutes on a particular platform, and that app really helped me a lot. Those were 7 idioms, but now you need to learn how to structure your speaking answers on the Duolingo English test, and this is the video for that. I show you a useful structure you can use, and I also give you lots of other speaking tips. So watch this video next, and I'll see you here.